Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Junkmonster3. And what do you know? We've talked about the best films that I watched during 2023. Now we're gonna talk about the worst films that I watched during all of 2023. So these are basically films that you can just stay the hell away from unless you want to torture yourself. And like with the previous one, I had a couple of honorable mentions in that one, and now in this one, I'm gonna have a few dishonorable mentions. So yeah, first is dishonorable mention. We have Jesse James meets Frankenstein's daughter from 1966. A big old mess, which just felt like it was like an unfinished film, and then just shoved together with some other film. Yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. Awful film. Then the next dishonorable mention is Blood Monkey from 2007. Now, just based on what this is about, it just sounds like it's a really great film. But yeah, barely any monkeys or like mutated monkeys or anything like that. It's just boring mess. I mean, the monkeys kind of show up for the last 10 minutes of the film or something, and at that point, you're just tired of it. Yeah, horrible film, Blood Monkey. And then we have Killer Eye Halloween Haunt from 2011. And this is kind of like a same story like we have with the the Silent Night, Deadly Night film, when they had to like shove a bunch of footage from the first one in the second one. This is sort of the same thing, but this is even worse. It's basically about these girls that just sits and watch the original one, and then some spooky shit happens like behind the scenes, like when they're watching this film. Awful, awful film. So yeah, there you go. Killer Eye, Halloween Haunt. And then the next dishonorable mention is um, film by Lucifer Valentine, notorious, like infamous, not infamous, but very like controversial director. Especially if you read up about him, what he's been up to, or like what he's really been doing behind closed doors, so to say. So I think this is the only one that I had not seen before that he's directed, and this is just the same old thing, like vomit and puking and piss, and it's just a boring mess. And the film is Black Moss of the Nazi Sex Wizard. What a controversial title for such an awful, awful film. So, yeah. And then the last dishonorable mention is a film that you might really laugh at, because this is sort of like a weird ass fetish film. Um, I mainly watched this just to see how disgusted I would be, or like how sort of like a gag thing, like not a gag thing, but sort of like a can I handle this film? The film is Terrible Meal from 1995. Now this is just feels like the same like Squirm Fest films that I think I watched one of those Squirm Fest films, and that was just really disgusting. And this one is also really disgusting. Not so much for what she eats in the film, but more for the sound effects. And I don't even think it's the sound effects, but just the way she's like chewing her, like the chewing bit is just whatever. So yeah, Terrible Meal, lost dishonorable mention. Now we come to the top 10 worst worst of the bunch. So yeah, let's begin. At number 10, we have a film called The Devil and Leroy Bassett from 1973. This is sort of like a heist film in a way. Like it's about these people like trying to like rob banks and stuff. But the main issue with this is that Buck Flowers in this film, and he's not really the main issue about the film, but the dialogue in this film is really the annoying bit, and the way they talk about it, the way each other. So if you're from this area in the US, don't take offense to that, but the way they talk is just really, really annoying. Because they like talking about Leroy all the time. So like, oh, what do you say about that, Leroy? Can we do that later, Leroy? So he says that like so many times in the film that it just pissed me off. So yeah, at number 10, well, yeah, the Devil and Leroy Bassett, awful film. Then at number 9, we have a film with I believe both Joe Estevez and Rob Sudar showed up in this film. And this is directed by, surprisingly, this is directed by the same guy who directed Hell Comes to Frogtown, which is probably one of his best films. Apparently, he just made garbage after that. But The Guns of El Chupacabra from 1997. What was this film even about? It's just a bunch of random scenes stuff stuck together, and it's just Joe Estevez talking, like monologuing, like just looking into the camera, and it's just a big old mess. Awful film. Number 8. At number 8, we have a film called Loon from 2015. really like micro budgeted film that is probably like I wouldn't be surprised if this film only had like $500 in budget or even less than that, because the camera work is awful, the lighting is really like atrocious from time to time, and most of the characters are really obnoxious and annoying. I did like the look of the killer or like the mask or whatever. I just wish he could have been in another film. So yeah, Loon, awful film. And then we have at number 7 a film called Sweet Savior from 1971. Some jackass that thought he could cash in on the whole like Manson controversy, because it's basically about this like Manson type family going around like doing stupid shit just like the real Manson family really did. But it's no fun to look at people just having a great time in bed and then just kind of like just slightly like cut someone in the face. So it's just so boring and so sleazy. It's just ugh. I didn't like this film. And then we have a number 6, a film called Shark Killer from 2015. Why is this even called Shark Killer? There's barely any sharks in this film at all. Why even call it Shark Killer? That really pissed me off. This could have been one of those. I used hoped for this film to be like one of those shitty shark films that could be really funny and entertaining for all the wrong reasons. But this is just really boring and really annoying, mainly because of the characters. They are just really boring and flat. And once the shark or sharks show up, it's just really, really boring. And you've just given up at that point. So yeah, Shark Killer. And then we come to the 5 worst ones. At number 5, we have a film which I don't even think is categorized as a comedy, but I believe they really tried hard to make this like a horror comedy. Reanimator Academy from 1992. The same thing that I said about the previous film, I can repeat about this one. It's just annoying characters, and they really try really hard to be funny, but it just backfires horribly, and it becomes like a real struggle to suffer through this one. So yeah, Reanimator Academy at number 5. Then at number 4, we have another film with Joe Estevez, even though he hasn't really have that big role in this one, but it seems like he shows up in most of those really like more micro-budgeted crappy films. But yeah, the film is called Werewolf from 1995. This is another film that really felt like it was like an unfinished film, and then he stuck a bunch of other weird footage into it, and then it's just no storyline at all. It's just a weird ass mess. So yeah, Werewolf at number 4. Oh, and the next one. This is one of the lost films actually that I watched during last year, and I've always wanted to see this film mainly because of the cover art, and like even though I've heard bad things about it, I thought for myself, well, it can't be that bad because it's like a killer Santa film. But no one told me that this was like an anthology film. This is a film called Psycho Santa. Really low budget garbage. This is just so boring. It's basically like a weird anthology film told by this loser that drives around in his car with his girlfriend or something, because they're off to some Christmas vacation, and we never get to see like that celebration or whatever with their people. And the stories he's telling you, the audience, is just really boring. If you like films with like a guy in a Santa suit walking around in the woods for like 50 minutes, there you go. That's the film for you. Rest of the film is just padding. Really, it's just a big old. The whole film just feels like it's padding out just to get it to like 70 minutes. So, yeah, Psycho Santa, really, really one of the worst Christmas horror films that I've ever seen, and I would even say this is worse than Santa Claus that I saw like 2 years ago or something, that was produced or directed by John Russo, I believe. So yeah. And then we have at number 2, which I thought was going to be the worst one I watched all year. This film was told to me by my friend Tim that it was could have been even worse than Hip Hop Locos. And if you're aware of the film Hip Hop Locos, it's actually still the worst film that I've ever seen. So when he said that this was almost as bad as that, I thought, well, this is going to be bad. And it sure was. I would say the same thing that I said about the Leroy Bassett film before is the same thing with this one. It's just really annoying, repetitive dialogue throughout most of the film. Like, oh, what do you say about that, boy? Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Shut up. I don't care about your dialogue. I don't care about your family. I don't care about anything that happens in this film because you're obnoxious douchebags, all of you. You just go off. Yeah, the Kill Billies, 2002. I didn't even mention it. I didn't even mention the title before talking about it, so it's sorry for that. But that's how bad this film was. So yeah, the Kill Billies from 2002. So, at number 1, what could possibly be worse than the Kill Billies? Well, It's a film which I believe tried to capitalize on the infamy of Begotten, which is an old late 80s, early 90s like experimental film, black and white. Um, it doesn't make all. It's something about the birth of Christ or something. The storyline is just so muddled in that film. As muddled as that film was, it was still interesting to see because it was all of these weird like cricket noises in the background while these weird things happen on screen. Now this guy apparently thought, well, the cricket sounds doesn't fit my type of film. We need to have. Well, I'm just going to tell you the title before I continue, but Flesh of the Void from 2017. So this director, instead of having cricket sounds in the background as like music, he decided to like add this annoying, obnoxious, like weird music that's like. I mean, if you really if you've seen a couple of newer trailers that they're always having those type of sounds like some sort of like doomsday type of music, it's that type of music, but imagine that in the film for like 70 minutes, like throughout the most of the film. That is really like really annoying, and for most of the time you can't even see what's going on. It's just black and white, like War of the Ants that I usually talk about, where you know the old like TVs which had like the black and white like small little dots on it. That's what I usually call War of the Ants. So imagine that for most of the film, like War of the Ants type of deal. You can't barely see what's going on, and I'm not really sure if you were even meant to see what's going on. And it's just some things shoved in there to be controversial, but it's just really like pathetic more than anything else at this point. So yeah, Flesh of the Void, the worst film that I've watched during all year. So yeah, if you, I mean, at one point I really wanted to get a hold of this film on DVD, but now I'm really glad I didn't pay anything for it because I watched it for free online. So yeah, I mean, usually usually I say buy the film to promote the director or like the production team, whatever. But this film is so bad that it's like, no, don't give these people any of your money or valuable money. Just go to a local McDonald's and have a cheeseburger instead. Well, anyway, that's the end of the top 10 worst films, or like with honorable mentions of 2023. Now I'm finally done with these like videos. Like I've been very like I should have made these videos a long time ago. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, I'm not really sure about the next video. It's probably going to be a. I'll talk about the top 10 Don Bluth films that I'm probably going to make in the near future because I still need to get a hold of at least 2 of these films. So, but other than that, I think it's probably going to be another update video so I can get some of this stuff out of the way. So, well, anyway, hope you enjoyed this video and see you next time. Bye bye.